Welcome to my channel. Hi everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Endless Journeys. And today we are going to continue with the third discussion episode of Lottie's voyage on the Titanic and her rescue from the Titanic after it sank. So Lottie and her family, after they left England, or Bishopstroke, I should say, they boarded the Titanic in April of 1912, Lottie and her family. And they sailed for a few days before it actually sank. And so during those first few days, Lottie became ill to her stomach. And we're going to go through that with the story when I narrate it. And she was ultimately cared for by a stewardess working aboard ship. Now, guys, I wouldn't otherwise mention this, but this stewardess happened to be a black female. And throughout this brief period, Lottie had the opportunity to strike up a friendship with this wonderful stewardess. And so, bear with me, I'm bringing up race simply because of the context against which this story folds out. And so, okay, let's continue. So, why I clarify this is because these facts do illuminate the good, sincere nature of Lottie and her family. And so Lottie was not caught up in the social political ideology that was unfortunately spreading like wildfire all across Europe. However, that same ideology did affect a great many Titanic passengers, unfortunately. So that is why I ultimately chose to illuminate Lottie's account and skip over some others because I knew that Lottie's objectivity would not taint truth and reality, and prejudice would not enter in the picture. And that is the sort of light and spirit that I want to try to salvage here, because her account wasn't about differences and prejudices. It was about loving and acceptance. And so Lottie is therefore, as I've tried to explain before, in my mind, in my opinion, a very, very inspirational and major source of strength and courage for those of us who may ultimately one day be faced with similar challenges that she was faced with on the Titanic. And I don't think there was ever a doubt in her mind that everyone aboard the Titanic should have been saved, regardless of any of their differences or origins, whatever. That's not how life really works. Or at least that's the point that we all want to get to. And I know that we're not entirely there yet, but I think we have come a long way. And it's people like Lottie who really made a difference in those days. So I kind of place Lottie in the same category along with Molly Brown, who adamantly protested against the way emergency operations were being carried out. It must have been shocking. The stewardess never made it to a lifeboat. And so that is a big reason why, unfortunately, and it should never have entered the picture, but that is why. And she was not listed as a lost life or a victim. Same goes for a great many others, for whatever reasons, who never made it to the deck or even on a lifeboat. And for whatever reason, this stewardess was absolutely denied a chance to survive. However, it is also Lottie's passive objectivity that really allures the reader and her audience and captures our full attention, because she simply tells it like it is without any fury or other subjective interjections. And that is the sincerity that people sought when they tried to find out and extract the twisted, tangled facts of all of the accounts that emerged after the sinking. And so I hope you enjoy this account. We had already sent forward the few personal treasures that we had kept from our old home, so that when we went on board the Titanic, our every earthly possession was with us. We were traveling second cabin, and from our deck, which was situated well forward, we saw the great send-off that was given to the boat. I do not think there had ever been so large a crowd in Southampton, and I am not surprised that it should have come together. The Titanic was wonderful, far more splendid and huge than I had dreamed of. The other craft in the harbor were like cockle shells beside her, and they, mind you, were the boats of the American and other liners that a few years ago were thought enormous. I remember a friend said to me, just before visitors were ordered ashore, "Aren't you afraid to venture on the sea?" But now it was I who was confident. "What, on this boat?" I answered. Even the worst storm couldn't harm her. Before we left the harbor, I saw an accident to the New York, a liner that was dragged from her moorings and swept against us in the channel. It did not frighten anyone, as it only seemed to prove how powerful the Titanic was. I don't remember very much about the first few days of the voyage. I was a bit seasick and kept to my cabin most of the time, but on Sunday, April 14th, I was up and about. At dinner time, I was at my place in the saloon and enjoyed the meal. Even though I thought it was very heavy and rich, no effort had been spared to serve even to the second cabin passengers on that Sunday the best dinner that money could buy. After I had eaten, I listened to the orchestra for a while. Then, at perhaps 9 o'clock or even 9:30, I went to my cabin. I had just climbed into my berth When a stewardess came in, she was a sweet woman who had been very kind to me. I take this opportunity to thank her, for I shall never see her again. She went down with the Titanic. Do you know where we are? She asked me pleasantly. We are in what is called the Devil's Hole. I asked her, what does that mean? And she responded, that is a dangerous part of the ocean. Many accidents have occurred near here. They say that icebergs drift down as far as this. It's getting to be very cold on the deck, so perhaps there is ice around us even now. The stewardess left the cabin, and I soon dropped off to sleep. Her talk about icebergs did not frighten me, but it shows that the crew were well aware of the danger. As far as I can tell, we had not slackened our speed in the least. So that is Lottie's experience aboard the Titanic just before it sank. And so, what a strange and mysterious and almost supernatural encounter, and so dark a premonition. If it almost sounds as though this was going to be a voyage comprised mostly of fallen souls to take passengers as prey. Of course, I'm exaggerating the truth, but that is almost how one wants to imagine the actual atmosphere of things that were going on right before the Titanic crashed. One might also try to argue that the stewardess was a witch, and witchery was a very prejudiced and distorted illusion that people gave to people of color in those days to make them appear negative. And I'm not suggesting that this is what Lottie was actually trying to do, because I do believe that that conversation probably took place. Now, guys, I am not superstitious, but I happen to believe that it is possible that various human hybrids do at times walk the earth. I'm not saying what they are, that I know what they are. I'm just saying that I believe that it could be possible. And so that is the sense that I really do perceive here. And so I'm going to try to explain a little bit why. And don't laugh or laugh if you have to, but I think that maybe time travel might come into play in some way or another. But I'm not suggesting that this is a time travel story. Of course not. I'm just saying that this bears a lot of the traits that time travel stories do have. Because of the circumstances that surrounded, for example, the instance of the imploded submarine and all of its negative attributes where light and gravity and their properties completely reversed, I'm just suggesting that time portals are extremely, a very critical element of the existence of time travel. Yes, time travel does exist in concept. Now, the reason for that we cannot actually go ahead and 100% verify the actual existence of time travel as a reality in life or on Earth is because who are we going to ask for proof, right? Some of the stories that do talk about time travel have to be taken with a grain of salt because we can't verify them. What I sometimes wonder is whether or not the Titanic sinking was actually, or could have been, an instance of some souls time traveling from one dimension to another. I don't know. Sometimes it does seem like that, right? To me, at least it did, because although hundreds of bodies were missing and only about half of them recovered, I'm not saying that the rest time traveled. No, I'm just saying that this is the kind of circumstance where time travel may occur, if it did. The location of Devil's Hole actually fits this theory. And what I'm saying is this tragic accident does appear in some instances so otherworldly. And it could have disguised other transformational events such as time travel. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm just saying that it mimics, time travel mimics disasters like this. One of the reasons that made me go back to the time travel link to the Titanic is the fact that, the stewardess, what she said about Devil's Hole a short while before the crash could not have very easily have been a mere coincidence. That is just my opinion. I cannot wrap my head around that tragic and very superstitious, almost magical statement that the stewardess actually made to Lottie about Devil's Hole. As I believe that if it were me in my shoes, that statement that the stewardess made about Devil's Hole would have haunted me to the end of my days. And I think that maybe Lottie battled with this conversation, and, her husband lost his life. And I'm sure that this conversation kept coming back to her and haunting her because it would have been only natural. So, about Devil's Hole. There are 7 Devil's Hole locations in the world, but only one that they talked about exists in BC, Canada, near enough to where the Titanic sinking actually occurred. And so therefore, no other location would make sense in this context. So because of these, in my opinion, supernatural elements, I wonder, did Charlotte really write this account all by herself? Furthermore, was the stewardess actually real in the sense that she came by that night? Was it to check on Lottie's health? Did the incident really occur? Did the conversation really take place? Remember, Marjorie would have been there, but Harvey was not present. He was still in the saloon at the time that this conversation took place, which would have been when she returned to the cabin around 9:30, 9-ish, 9:30. And so we're going to get into that when I narrate the story. But so Harvey wasn't there. She was alone with Marjorie and the stewardess. Or did Lottie simply insert this conversation into the story to make her account stand out apart from all the others? I don't know. Though I like Lottie and I really enjoy reading about her account, I still can't really understand why Lottie attached this supernatural element to the stewardess. And so therefore, I am not only amazed by Lottie's personality, but I still maybe kind of wonder if, in fact, I don't really know exactly who she is yet. And so I want to just mention again that people affected by tuberculosis, which Lottie was suffering from, they have a higher risk of mental health conditions. And again, they do negatively impact TB treatment outcomes and other health-related quality of life and social and health outcomes. So were Lottie's health problems more than the physical element of TB? Or did they, in fact, include other disorders like schizophrenia? And I'm not making this up. Mental health conditions are one of the top impairments that people with TB suffer. And that's a fact. It's been researched. And up until this story, I didn't know that. And so that's very sad. I can't imagine what people go through. And so this includes schizophrenia as almost at the top of the list for mental health issues. And it would also, therefore, indicate a great chance of multiple personality disorder. I just don't know for sure. So this part and the next part of Lottie's story really, they creep me out. And because I can't really get to the bottom of what she was trying to infer, other than it being truthful. It is the way that she tells it just puts me under a spell. So makes me think, and we will see this more and more even in the next part, part 4, that Lottie was actually perceiving things very differently in a very altered state spiritually. She wasn't seeing things the way other people might have been seeing them. And so people, guys, people were dying. People were being threatened. People were being bullied. People were being pushed and shoved around. And so, you know, I think that out of sheer panic, possibly, Lottie may have been temporarily pushed over the edge and maybe right then and there disassociated. Again, I just don't know. That brings us to the close of this third part of Lottie's story. And next time we will discuss the actual crash and sinking. as documented by Lottie and narrated by her in the newspaper. And so I really hope that you enjoyed this third part. And thank you very much for listening and watching. And in order to make sure that you know exactly when I will be uploading the next part, I hope that you really do consider subscribing. Bye for now.